Going to have a look at the business news now. Stephen Carroll's joining us here. And so we're starting with a story here in France, in fact. The government is taking rather a tough line with businesses. This is all about job creation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's to do with the so-called responsibility pact, which is a €41 billion package of tax cuts for employers. Now, announced 2 years ago by President Hollande, it was meant to help create 1 million jobs by reducing payroll taxes for companies. But only 16 of 50 sectors have signed up to the deal, and the Prime Minister has called on employers to keep up their side of the bargain. Delano de Souza reports.
Its intention was to jumpstart the French economy and get companies hiring once again. The Responsibility Pact, introduced by President Hollande in 2014, aimed to hand out corporate tax breaks in exchange for pledges to create jobs. But now, 2 years on, the initiative has yet to bear fruit, and it's pushing the government on the offensive.
The
handouts can be conditional, they can be redirected. This isn't a threat, it's just to ensure everyone assumes their responsibilities.
The French state has already handed out over half the €40 billion in tax breaks, and according to the main bosses union, any changes to the agreement now would be counterproductive.
It'd be a serious mistake. It would call into question the trust placed in the heads of business, so you can't condition anything, because if you do, you'll toss aside everything that's been done over the past 2 years.
Public sector companies, banks, construction and retail chains have benefited the most from the Responsibility Pact so far. But only 16 sectors have signed up to the programme when in fact 50 are eligible. The Minister of Economy is calling on everyone to get on board.
A gesture is made by the country which is important. 40 billion in 3 years, and we ask you to negotiate to improve things and to create a real social dialogue.
As unemployment in France remains stubbornly high, President Hollande has called for an evaluation of his signature programme by the summer.
Delano de Souza there. What about the markets then, Stephen? What's happening?
Good day to the start of the day in Europe. Shares generally continuing their bounce from yesterday. That's after Mario Draghi said on Monday that the ECB was ready to do its part to shore up the Eurozone. You can see the gains there across the board on the European markets. In Paris, the French tyre maker Michelin is up some 3% after its latest results. Over on the Asian markets, a similar picture today. Gains all round, really. We saw the Nikkei close up just slightly at the end of the day, but it had a fantastic day on Monday, finishing up by 7% at the end of the day. Fairly significant gains on the Chinese markets too. All of this being helped by the bump in oil prices. We've seen the Brent crude index jump by 5% in trading today. A barrel of oil now on that international benchmark for oil at over $35 a barrel. This is ahead of a meeting taking place between the Russian and Saudi oil ministers. They're expected to discuss this oversupply in the market. Maybe some hints that they might get Saudi Arabia to reduce their oil output, which is of course what's been keeping oil prices so low, and that's giving the markets a bit of optimism.
Nice to hear. Some disappointing results, though, today from the French electricity company. This is EDF.
EDF reported lower than expected profits of just under €1.2 billion for last year. That's down from €3.7 billion in 2014. The company also cut its dividend for investors, saying it needs to invest $55 billion to upgrade its nuclear power plants in the coming years. EDF's chief executive says that it will only close one nuclear power plant in France in the next 10 years. That's despite estimates from the French Court of Auditors that up to 19 may need to be shut down under the country's energy transition laws. Move on next to look at some of the day's other business headlines for you. The French telecoms company Orange has seen better than expected results thanks to cost cutting. The firm says it still needs several weeks to agree a deal to buy rival Bouygues Telecom though. Net profits at the company reached nearly €3 billion. That's more than double its figure for 2014. The mining firm Anglo American has been downgraded to junk by the ratings agency Moody's. It's the first major miner to lose its investment grade status amid the collapse in commodity prices. Anglo American is selling or shutting down some 2/3 of its operations in response to the crisis. Shares in the company, though, up over 6% after its latest restructuring announcement. And shares in the Japanese telecoms company SoftBank have soared by 15% after it announced a massive buyback of its shares. The company's repurchasing some 14% of its stock, worth nearly €4 billion. It comes after SoftBank reported an 88% fall in quarterly profits for the last quarter.
Going to talk to you now again about the Grammys. Stephen's been looking at the businesses, rather hoping to hit the right note. This is a story about goodie bags, isn't
Yes,
it?
so about 150 people get goodie bags at the Grammys, not only the nominees, but also those that are performing or those that are presenting awards too. This year, the swag is valued at some $22,000 by Fortune magazine. It includes a $6,000 spa fitness package that includes consultations with a nutritionist, a life coach and a trainer during a 7-day stay. There's a voucher worth more than $2,000 for an organic, gluten-free and vegan cocktail service from a company called The Natural Mixologist. And if you're feeling a bit healthy after all that, there's even a 23-carat gold-salted caramel pecan praline from Philip Ashling Chocolate.
Say that again.
$200.
Gold-salted pecan... What?
Caramel praline.
Okay, it's either that or the spa package for me, I think.
You can't have both. Yeah, well, you might need one after the other is the thing.
That's true, yeah. Sit in my spa eating a caramel pecan praline. Right, thanks a lot, Stephen. Stephen with Business on France 24.